Tibet is a harsh plateau with an average elevation of 13,000 feet, thin air, frigid temperatures, and rugged terrain. It contains more than a quarter of the Earth's extrapolar ice, the water source for 10 of Asia's major rivers, and affects nearly 2 billion people. The uplift of the Tibetan Plateau, caused by the geological collision of the Indian and Eurasian plates, created the Himalayas and altered global climate patterns, forming the Asian monsoon. Today, you will step into a land where all conventional rules are broken. This is not just a story about geography or culture, it is a story about the limits of humanity and how we overcome them. Number 1. Tibetan Plateau, the roof of the world. Tibet is widely known as the roof of the world. This nickname accurately describes the true scale of the largest plateau on Earth. This enormous geographical area spans approximately 2.5 million square kilometers. This is 4 times the size of France and equal to all of Western Europe. It is not a single mountain range, but a continent in the air. The plateau stretches over 2,500 kilometers from east to west. Its length from north to south also exceeds 1,000 kilometers. The average elevation of the land ranges from 4,500 to nearly 5,000 meters. Much of its surface is higher than even the world's highest peaks. Tibet consistently holds the highest altitude compared to many other countries. The air in Tibet is biologically very thin due to its high altitude. The amount of oxygen available is only about 60% compared to sea level. The inhaled oxygen concentration here is only 11.2% instead of the usual 20.9%. For tourists, the amount of usable oxygen decreases by almost 40% immediately. This often causes symptoms such as headaches and rapid heartbeat. However, Tibet boasts some of the cleanest air on Earth. The sky here is a very special and strangely beautiful blue. The horizon stretches for hundreds of kilometers without any obstructions. The excellent visibility is a paradoxical feature compared to the thin air. This is a rare natural environment with extremely high purity. It is known by scientists as the third pole of our planet. Tibet has more than 46,000 glaciers covering an area of approximately 105,000 square kilometers. This is the largest ice reserve in the world outside of the 2 polar regions. This enormous amount of ice plays a crucial role in global climate. The presence of glaciers transforms the plateau into a massive water tower. At least 10 to 12 of Asia's largest rivers originate here. Notable rivers include the Yangtze, Mekong, and Ganges. This river system directly supplies fresh water to 1.9 billion people, equivalent to nearly half of the world's population. China alone obtains 30% of its fresh water from these rivers. 10 rivers in Tibet exceed 1,600 kilometers in length, demonstrating the region's continental influence. Tibet is not just an autonomous region, it is the lifeblood of Asia. Any changes here directly impact global water security. The plateau's role is far more important than we imagine. Number 2. The evolutionary secrets of the Tibetan people. At high altitudes where oxygen levels drop drastically, the normal human body reacts by producing more red blood cells to compensate for the deficiency. Blood thickens, the heart has to work harder, and the risk of blood clots, increased pulmonary hypertension, or stroke is heightened. That's the price of survival at high altitudes. But on the Tibetan Plateau, the human body tells a completely different story, a story that science calls one of the fastest evolutionary adaptations ever recorded. Instead of dramatically increasing hemoglobin, Tibetans maintain lower hemoglobin levels than many groups living at the same altitude, yet still transport enough oxygen to nourish the body. Thinner blood reduces the burden on the heart, lowers the risk of blood clots, and keeps circulation stable under conditions of prolonged oxygen deprivation. Inside the blood vessels, higher than normal nitric oxide levels allow the vascular system to dilate better, increasing blood flow to the brain and vital organs. Their bodies don't fight the environment, they harmonize with it. Behind this ability lies the unique genetic signature of the EPAS1 gene. Over approximately 3,000 years of natural selection, this gene variant spread throughout the Tibetan population and modulated how the body responds to low oxygen environments. In that short period, the frequency of the EPAS1 gene increased from 9% in Han Chinese to nearly 87% in Tibetans. Much evidence suggests that this variant originated from ancient Denisovan ancestors, giving the evolutionary story of this region an almost mythical quality in human history. The effects of this advantage begin at birth. Tibetan infants in the highlands maintain better oxygen saturation levels, have higher survival rates, and maintain more stable weights compared to many other groups of people who have recently migrated to the mountains. Women carrying the highly adaptable gene variant lose an average of only about 0.48 children, while those with less adaptability lose 2.53 children. Without ventilators or technical support, they thrive at altitudes that most of us can only traverse in the pressurized cabins of airplanes. On the roof of the Earth, human biology has been rewritten in a truly miraculous way. Number 3. The practice of polyandry in Tibet. In rural Tibet, particularly in farming communities, the practice of polyandry, meaning a woman marries multiple brothers, still persists. To outsiders, this is a strange custom, but in Tibet, it's a survival strategy in a high-altitude environment with limited resources and very low agricultural productivity. If sons leave the household to start their own families, the land is fragmented to the point where it's impossible to support a family. This process is similar to the STEM family system in Europe, but achieved by keeping all sons together instead of just one heir. Thus, brothers share a wife and work together on the same plot of land to maintain the size of the property and maximize manpower for the 3 main economic activities: agriculture, livestock farming, and long-distance trade without needing to hire outside labor. Field surveys indicate that this practice was once very prevalent. In 1988, approximately 13.3% of households in some areas practiced polyandry. Other studies by Goldstein noted levels of 30 to 40% among landowners of the Baba serf class before 1959. By 2008, in some villages in Sigaze and Chamdo, the rate of polyandry still reached 20 to 50%, and in some places even up to 90% of households. Remarkably, this pattern strongly recovered after the 1980s, when land use rights were returned to households, despite the 1981 marriage law legally prohibiting it. Many Western anthropologists are even more surprised that polyandry also acts as a natural population control mechanism. Approximately 31% of women of reproductive age remain unmarried because men are focused on polyandry marriages. If this group were to marry and have children at an average rate, the population would exceed the carrying capacity of the highland environment. In family life, the marital order was based on cooperation rather than emotional exclusivity. When men frequently traveled for herding or trading, the natural rotation among brothers helped maintain marital relationships without creating social stigma. Wives were expected to treat their husbands fairly, with the eldest brother often assuming the role of head of the household and social father to all children, regardless of which brother was the biological father. Within the local community, this sharing was not considered deviant, but rather a way to protect common property and maintain household stability. Number 4. Tibetan culture is a unique spiritual universe. Let's begin where death doesn't disappear, but is transformed into compassion. On a mountainside 5 to 10 kilometers from the village, the sky burial ritual, or Jator, offers the body to Himalayan vultures instead of burial or cremation. The body is washed, wrapped in white cloth, carried up to the Durtro, and then given to the Rogyapa to be chopped up and mixed with tsampa barley flour so the birds can eat it all. For Tibetans, the body is merely an empty shell. Letting the birds devour it is a good omen that the soul departs peacefully, simultaneously practicing impermanence, compassion, and connection with nature in a very physical act. The major festivals here transform this belief into community events of purification and renewal. Losar, the 15-day New Year festival, focuses on dispelling the bad luck of the old year and receiving blessings through family rituals such as eating gutu, noodles, or offering chema, sacrifices. Following closely behind is Monlam, the largest 21-day prayer festival, where thousands of monks gather to chant scriptures and engage in profound philosophical debates to ensure the quality of Buddhist education and accumulate merit for world peace. Tibetans have created tangible tools to keep their prayers present in space. Lungta flags, with their 5 colors representing the 5 Adasdast, harness the power of the wind to read and disperse mantras throughout the world. Prayer wheels serve as a democratic tool, allowing even the illiterate or infirm to accumulate merit by spinning the wheel, each rotation equivalent to chanting thousands of mantras. Simultaneously, the Mani stone walls, built up over centuries, symbolize collective strength and the never-ending prayer. Art and dance are ways of concretizing the gods and teachings. Thangkas are sacred scroll paintings that serve as visual scriptures and tools for meditation, painted to strict proportions to accurately depict the images of deities. Meanwhile, Cham dance is a masked dance performed by monks to cleanse evil and honor protective deities. In contrast, folk dances like Guozhuang and Xianzi are more secular, connecting communities through love and the joy of their homeland. The meticulousness of faith is also evident in works made from butter and barley flour, such as torma and butter lamps. Giant butter statues in the Chunga Chwepa festival recount Buddhist stories visually, illuminating people's faith in the darkness of night. In short, in Tibet, there is no distance between religion and daily life. Every object and action is a way for them to transform their faith into a complete way of life. Number 5. The Tibetan Empire was erased from history. The history of Tibet is a long journey from mysterious beginnings, rising to become a powerful empire, and finally facing a tragic civilizational rupture in the 20th century. According to sources, the land began with the presence of the Bon religion and the ancient Zhangzhung culture from 500 BCE to 625 AD, a civilization that has almost disappeared from official history but still leaves its mark through the Zhangzhung language in bilingual texts. Few know that, from the 7th to the 9th centuries, Tibet was a formidable military power. This empire expanded its influence throughout Central Asia, controlled important Silk Road routes, and even occupied Chang'an, the capital of the Tang dynasty, in 763. It was not an isolated society, but a political entity capable of directly confronting China by force. However, the 20th century marked a painful turning point. Despite declaring independence in 1913, Tibet was invaded by China in 1950. The period that followed was marked by a horrific humanitarian crisis, with an estimated 1.2 million deaths between 1949 and 1979 due to war, executions, torture, and famine. In 1960, the International Commission of Jurists, ICJ, even concluded that these actions constituted genocide, targeting the extermination of Tibetans as a religious group. Alongside the human cost, cultural heritage was also severely damaged. More than 6,000 monasteries were destroyed, millions of ancient scriptures were burned, and approximately 93% of the monastic population was murdered or forced to renounce their vows after the Cultural Revolution. Faced with the near-total physical destruction of their ancient culture, since 2009, the form of resistance has become more brutal, with over 160 Tibetans self-immolating to let their voices be heard by the world. These individuals, including teenagers as young as 15 to 16, were not soldiers but civilians carrying a deep despair about the future of their people. In this context, the Tibetan flag became a symbol of absolute repression. In China, possessing or sharing images of the flag can lead to imprisonment for up to 15 years. Even foreign tourists have their phones heavily monitored to erase any trace of it. This strict control has pushed the people's despair to the extreme. Number 6. Complex religious history. The history of Tibetan religion is a journey of spiritual transformation and harmonization spanning nearly 2,500 years, from ancient foundations to the formation of unique traditions. It began with the independent Zhangzhung kingdom and its indigenous Bon religion. Early Bon was not only a system of sorcery and mysticism, but also a government religion that consolidated the king's power through animal sacrifice rituals. After being conquered by the Tibetan Empire, Bon was not destroyed but gradually transformed, replacing animal sacrifices with torma and integrating into the Buddhist tradition. Buddhism began to take root under King Songtsen Gampo, who united the tribes and created the Tibetan script based on Indian characters. The most profound transformation occurred under King Trisong Detsen when he invited Indian masters such as Padmasambhava and Shantaraksita to build the Sami monastery, the first model of a mandala. In particular, the Sami debate established that Tibetan Buddhism followed an Indian rather than a Chinese path, shaping the land's spirituality for a millennium. Following a period of decline due to the persecution by King Langdharma and a fragmentation phase, Buddhism experienced a strong resurgence from the 10th century thanks to the efforts of the great master Atisha. This process gave rise to 4 main schools: Nyingma, the oldest school with its Dzogchen meditation method and hidden scriptures; Kagyu, emphasizing oral practice associated with masters such as Marpa and Milarepa; Sakya, focusing on rigorous doctrine and philosophical knowledge led by the Khan clan, and Gelug, founded by Tsongkhapa, emphasizing discipline and the integration of doctrine with practice. The emergence of the Dalai Lama system within the Gelug school marked the culmination of this unification. From the title bestowed upon Sonam Gyatso by Altan Khan to the fifth Dalai Lama, who for the first time combined spiritual and political power to lead all of Tibet, these four major schools, despite certain differences in practice, have always maintained coexistence and mutual respect, creating a diverse yet unified spiritual system. Number 7. Astrology shapes life. Tibetan astrology, known as Tse or Tsi, is an ancient, invisible system that shapes all aspects of life, from the individual to the community. It's a unique blend of Indian Kartsi, white astrology, and Chinese Zhongzi, black, emphasizing the balance of the 5 elements. From the moment a child is born, a detailed astrological chart is created based on the exact time of birth to serve as a life plan, predicting Srog, vitality, Lus, health, Wangtang, finance, and Lungta, fortune. This system governs important decisions such as marriage, business, travel, and building a house. In marriage, particular attention is paid to the compatibility of the 5 elements and avoiding the 5 enemies, Dunkur. If the chart shows serious incompatibility, the marriage may be annulled to avoid the consequences of illness or poverty caused by the cosmic imbalance. Another notable aspect is that astrology is closely integrated with Sowa Rigpa, the science of healing, a medical system dating back over 2,500 years. Sowa Rigpa views the human body as a microcosm reflecting the movement of the planets, where celestial bodies directly influence organs and emotions. The 3 bodily fluids, lung, wind, tripa, bile, and becken, phlegm, correspond to cosmic energy states and the emotions of greed, anger, and delusion. Before treatment, practitioners often calculate the planetary positions. For example, full moons, new moons, or solar eclipses are considered unfavorable for surgery due to the instability of fluid flow in the body. Planets also have specific associations, such as Mars being associated with blood and action energy, while Mercury influences the nervous system. Tibetan diagnostic techniques are incredibly sophisticated, exemplified by the morning urine test used to identify over 400 different disease states. Based on color, such as blue indicating wind-related illnesses, yellow indicating gallbladder diseases, and odor, and the presence of bubbles, physicians can draw accurate conclusions about pathologies. The 3-finger pulse-taking method also allows for the detection of 360 pulse patterns, reflecting the state of the 5 internal organs and 6 viscera. Remarkably, physicians can detect pregnancy just weeks after conception and determine the sex of the fetus through the intensity of the pulse, challenging modern medical assumptions. Despite its different framework from the West, this system has helped the Tibetan community maintain longevity and stable health in harsh living conditions for centuries. Number 8. The biological wonders of Tibet. The Tibetan Plateau is a harsh environment with oxygen levels only about 60% of those at sea, forcing its inhabitants to undergo a complete redesign to survive. The Tibetan yak is a prime example, possessing significantly larger hearts and lungs, along with a structure of 14 to 15 pairs of ribs, creating a massive chest cavity to maximize respiratory capacity. This biological characteristic, combined with a large alveolar surface area and thin alveolar walls, allows them to function sustainably at altitudes above 4,000 meters without pulmonary vasoconstriction, thus reducing the burden on their cardiovascular system. The Tibetan antelope, Chiru, on the other hand, is impressive for its arduous breeding migration, traveling 300 to 350 kilometers annually to areas such as Lake Zonag. Despite once being on the brink of extinction due to brutal poaching for its incredibly soft fur, chatouche, the snow leopard population has made a spectacular recovery. From a record low of only about 20,000 individuals at the end of the last century, the Sanjiangyuan region alone recorded approximately 60,000 to 70,000 individuals between 2020 and 2022, marking a significant achievement in conservation efforts. At the top of the food chain, the snow leopard considers the Sanjiangyuan region its most strategically important stronghold for the survival of this elusive big cat species. With an estimated 1,002 individuals in 2025, this region accounts for 11 to 21% of the global snow leopard population. Currently, China holds about 60% of the snow leopard's habitat, making Tibet the center that will determine the fate of this iconic predator. Ultimately, the Tibetan Mastiff is a testament to genetic adaptation through interbreeding with the Tibetan gray wolf 24,000 years ago. They inherited a variant of the EPAS1 gene from the ancient Denisovans, which minimizes the harmful overproduction of red blood cells that can damage the cardiovascular system at high altitudes. This genetic trait, along with their massive size and thick double coat, allows the Mastiff to effectively protect livestock from predators during the freezing winter nights. These unique adaptations transform these animals into perfect biological machines, much like athletes equipped with specialized air filters to conquer the roof of the world. Number 9. Tibetan people are straightforward and sincere. The current population of Tibet ranges from approximately 6 to 7.7 million people. Nearly half of them live in the Tibet Autonomous Region. The remainder are scattered across the provinces of Qinghai, Sichuan, Gansu, and Yunnan. A small portion also resides in India, Nepal, and Bhutan. Notably, Qinghai Province is the birthplace of the 14th Dalai Lama, and this region plays a crucial role as the spiritual heart of the nation. It is noteworthy that Tibet has the highest proportion of young people in China. Currently, about 80% of the population still lives in rural areas, primarily on plateaus or in small villages. In terms of character, Tibetans are known for their honesty and sincerity. Because they live in a simple environment, they are not prone to calculation or deceit. The harsh climate has forged in them a strong will. They possess an open mind, allowing them to live peacefully with all difficulties. Hospitality is a deeply ingrained cultural trait. For example, they often give kata silk scarves as gifts to wish for good fortune and compassion. They also always use respectful language when communicating with others. Finally, their humility is formed from observing the majestic landscape. Despite their tough exterior, they are actually very warm-hearted people. In social life, the family is the most important foundation of the community. Therefore, many generations often live happily together under one roof. The elderly are always respected as treasures of wisdom. Historically, polyandry existed to preserve land. However, modern Tibetan society operates under a patriarchal structure. The father usually makes major decisions about marriage or education. The mother plays the role of the emotional and economic foundation of the family. Despite their limited involvement in politics, women still manage daily finances. Religion, in particular, is a path for women to achieve status and respect. Nunneries throughout the region provide a spiritual environment for nuns, where they can learn, meditate, and become spiritual leaders. Furthermore, mothers are the first to impart Buddhist principles to their children. Their prayers and stories shape the children's souls. Thus, women become the keepers of the vibrant national culture. It can be said that they possess a profound form of spiritual power. They are the ones shaping the future of the entire nation. Number 10. The Tibetan philosophy of raising children. Tibetan parenting philosophy is based on the idea that each age group requires a different approach. This system comprises 4 developmental stages from birth to adulthood. The first stage, from 0 to 5 years old, is to treat children like kings. This is a sacred period because every experience will be deeply imprinted on the child's subconscious. Parents should avoid harsh punishments or prohibitions. Instead of saying no, proactively distract the child with other things. Use emotions to communicate, as children understand emotions better than words. Freedom helps children develop a love of learning later in life. From 5 to 10 years old, children need to be treated like servants. Without this change, they will always expect the world to serve them. At this age, children begin to understand cause and effect. Parents should assign age-appropriate tasks such as cleaning their room or preparing meals. Let children experience the consequences naturally instead of using physical punishment. If a child doesn't do their homework, let them face the teacher directly. This helps them develop independence, responsibility, and self-confidence. Between ages 10 and 15, treat your child as an equal. Children begin to have their own opinions and want more independence. Parents need to listen to their children as true friends. Respect their personal choices if they are safe. You should explain the why instead of just giving orders. Set boundaries, but allow your child the freedom to choose within them. If they choose wrong, let them learn from their mistakes. Respect at this stage helps build a strong relationship. From age 15 onwards, respect your child as a mature individual. Tibetans believe that it's too late to continue teaching them. This is when you reap the rewards of your efforts over the past 15 years. Treat your child as a partner and respect their personal space. You need to teach children about compassion, honesty, and harmony. Set a good example so they can naturally emulate you. A child who is properly raised will always be independent and love their parents. Number 11. Tibetan Plateau, the Water Tower of Asia. The Tibetan Plateau is recognized by scientists as the Water Tower of Asia, and is the third largest ice reservoir on Earth after the Arctic and Antarctic. With an average elevation exceeding 4,500 meters, this region holds approximately 46,000 glaciers across an area of 105,000 kilometers, accounting for about 14.5% of the planet's total extrapolar ice mass. The seasonal release of fresh water from the ice and snow transforms it into a giant natural reservoir, playing a crucial role in shaping the landscape and providing a stable water supply for much of the continent. It is the source of a series of vital river systems, including the Yangtze, Yellow, Mekong, Indus, Brahmaputra, and Salween rivers. These rivers not only serve as geographical bridges, but also support agriculture, industry, and food security for many countries. An estimated 1.35 to 1.4 billion people, equivalent to more than 20% of the world's population, are directly dependent on water from Tibet. If indirect dependence through the Ganges River basin is included, this number could reach 47% of humanity. With approximately 718 billion cubic meters of surface water flowing downstream annually, the plateau acts as a giant water regulator. Furthermore, high-altitude lakes like Lake Namtso also regulate the atmosphere, influencing rainfall and monsoon patterns throughout the region. However, this sensitive ecosystem is rapidly becoming unstable. Since the 1950s, glaciers in Tibet have retreated at an alarming rate, faster than most other places in the world. Statistics show that approximately 7,600 square kilometers of ice have disappeared, and in over 6 decades, the total glacier area has decreased by 26%. In particular, more than 7,000 small glaciers have been completely wiped out due to their sensitivity to rising temperatures. This severe decline threatens to cause large-scale disruptions downstream, where even small changes upstream could lead to devastating consequences for the lives of billions of people. The Tibetan Plateau can be likened to Asia's giant air conditioner and water reservoir. When this system malfunctions or runs dry, the entire lower layers will face a loss of control over temperature and life resources. Number 12. Drokpa Traveler. The Drokpa are a long-established nomadic people of Tibet. Their name literally means high grassland people, or herders. They live on the Tibetan Plateau at altitudes commonly above 4,500 meters, one of the harshest environments on the planet. The Drokpa have adapted to these conditions for thousands of years. Their economy is based entirely on livestock farming. They raise yaks, sheep, and goats for milk, meat, and wool. These animals are highly resistant to cold and lack of oxygen. The yak plays a central role in their lives. In Tibetan, the word nor refers both to the yak and means property or wealth. The Drokpa's life operates on a seasonal migration cycle. They constantly move in search of water and pasture for their livestock. They spend about 2/3 of the year in winter valleys. In the summer, they move their livestock to higher pastures. The Drokpa people live in traditional black tents called ba. These tents are woven from coarse, stiff yak hair. When it's sunny, the loosely woven hair allows air circulation, cooling the tent. When it rains or snows, the hair expands and tightens. There's always a vent at the top of the tent to allow smoke to escape, symbolizing the highest gateway to heaven on the mountain. The division of labor within the Drokpa family is very clear. Women are responsible for weaving mats and making dairy products. They milk the cows, make butter, and produce dried cheese. They are also responsible for collecting dried cow dung for fuel. Men focus on managing and grazing the livestock in the pastures. They perform heavy work such as erecting tents or traveling far for trade. In the autumn, families go to markets to exchange goods. They use livestock to trade for barley and winter necessities. Previously, they mainly traded in kind, such as salt and furs. Nowadays, monetary economic forms have become more common among them. Horses hold an extremely special and sacred place in Drokpa culture. Horses are both a means of transportation and a symbol of skill and status. Horse racing festivals are the most important cultural events of the year. Here, men showcase their masterful horsemanship. A victory in the festival brings immense prestige. These horsemanship skills are preserved and passed down through generations. Number 13. The shift between long-standing traditional values and the pace of modernization. Tibetan farmers living in the low valleys are known as the Drokpa people. They mainly live in areas below 4,000 meters in altitude, such as Lhasa and Shigatse. This community maintains barley farming methods that have existed for over 3,000 years. Barley is the most important crop due to its excellent cold and drought resistance. This grain accounts for up to 70% of the cultivated land in Tibet. It is the main ingredient in Sampa food and traditional Chang beer. Rural families often have multiple generations living and working together. Their houses are built of stone and wood with very thick walls to protect against the cold wind. The ground floor is usually used for raising livestock, and the top floor is reserved for the ancestral altar. Currently, rural life is facing many challenges from modernization. Many young people are leaving their villages to seek career opportunities in large cities. This shift risks eroding long-standing agricultural knowledge. Urban development and tourism also directly impact land ownership. Farmers are becoming more dependent on hybrid crops and chemical fertilizers. In this context, Tibetan women play a crucial role in the community, undertaking key tasks such as weeding, harvesting, and food processing. The farming community continues to adapt to survive and preserve its cultural identity. In contrast to rural areas, cities like Lhasa are experiencing tremendous growth. The urbanization rate in the Tibet Autonomous Region exceeded 32% in 2020. Modern structures like high-rise hotels stand alongside historical temples. City dwellers are involved in various professions such as education, healthcare, and administration. A group of government employees known as Lhasa is emerging as a new social class. Today's youth are very interested in modern technology and business. However, bilingual education policies are causing much debate regarding language. Chinese is gradually replacing Tibetan in the teaching of science and mathematics. Urban food and tourism cultures are taking on new and exciting nuances. City dwellers still enjoy momos, thukpa noodles, and butter tea. However, restaurants now offer a wider variety of international dishes. The tourism industry has boomed, with over 40 million visitors in 2019. This increase in tourism puts significant pressure on the fragile ecosystems of the highlands. Plastic waste and traffic emissions are serious environmental problems. Many urban residents have committed to implementing sustainable environmental protection initiatives. They promote ecotourism to preserve nature for future generations. Number 14. Lhasa, the capital and spiritual heart of Tibet. Lhasa is not only the administrative capital, but also the spiritual heart, the origin of Tibetan teachings and the center of power in Tibet. Its most magnificent symbol is the Potala Palace. Potala, a symbol of power, sits atop Mount Red at an altitude of 3,700 meters. The complex boasts over 1,000 rooms and 10,000 altars adorned with gold and jewels. The palace walls are an average of 3 meters thick and reinforced with copper to withstand earthquakes. It is the place where the political and spiritual power of Tibet converge. The Jokhang Temple is considered the most sacred heart of the region. It houses a 2,500-year-old bronze statue of the Buddha Jowo Shakyamuni. Thousands of pilgrims visit daily to pay their respects. Barkhor Street is a pilgrimage route surrounding the Jokhang Temple, approximately 1 kilometer long. People perform the Kora ritual by walking in a clockwise circle. Many repeatedly bow down on the street to measure the distance with their bodies. This act reminds people of the impermanent cycle of life. It also fosters community and cultivates compassion in Tibetans. Lhasa's spiritual network is further strengthened by its prestigious Buddhist universities. Sami Monastery was the first Buddhist institution built in Tibet. Its architecture is modeled after the mandala, representing the universe. It is where the first 7 Tibetans officially became Buddhist monks. Drokpa Monastery was once the largest monastery in the world, with over 10,000 monks. Before the Potala Palace was expanded, the Dalai Lamas resided there. Drokpa served as a major university, training in Tibetan philosophy and monastic law. Sera Monastery is famous for its Buddhist debates held daily at 3 p.m. The monks use vigorous gestures such as jumping and clapping to express their enthusiasm. The purpose of the debates is to sharpen intellect and test knowledge of scriptures. Ganden Monastery, situated atop a mountain 4,300 meters high, was founded by Tsongkhapa. It was the first monastery of the Yellow Hat School. Tsongkhapa is currently buried there in a gold and copper-covered stupa. Number 15. The most arduous pilgrimage route. The journey to Western Tibet is a process of transforming wisdom into practical action through pilgrimage. The starting point of this cultural connection is the ancient tea and horse route, a vital trade network linking Yunnan and Sichuan with Tibet and India. This route served as a lifeline for exchanging tea for powerful Tibetan horses. It also bridged deep religious and cultural exchanges between the regions. Deepen your journey to encounter the sacred Yamdrok Lake at an altitude of 4,041 meters. This is one of the highest sacred lakes in the world today. The lake's color constantly changes from turquoise to violet depending on the light. The local people consider the lake a goddess protecting their livelihood. The historic city of Gyantse is the next important stop, with the Pelkhor Chode Monastery. Its most unique feature is the peaceful coexistence of 15 different religious sects. This is clear evidence of the profound religious tolerance of the Tibetan people. Here you will also find the Kumbum Stupa, an impressive, colossal three-dimensional mandala structure. The stupa consists of 108 small chambers containing up to 100,000 sacred images of Buddhas. This structure is meant to guide pilgrims towards enlightenment. In Shigatse City, Tashilhunpo Monastery is the official residence of the Panchen Lamas. It houses a colossal statue of the Maitreya Buddha, standing 26 meters tall. This precious statue is gilded with 300 kilon of pure gold. The Yalong Valley is considered the oldest cradle of Tibetan civilization. Here lies the first palace, Yumbulakang, built in the 2nd century BC. The journey will reach its spiritual peak at the sacred Mount Kailash and Manasaravar Lake. Kailash is the holiest mountain for 4 major religions in the world. Pilgrims often undertake the 52-kilometer Kora trek around the mountain, believing this ritual will help them achieve complete spiritual liberation. The western region also boasts the vast and wild Changtang grasslands. High peaks like Namcha Barwa and Everest are shrouded in ethereal white clouds, creating a majestic and awe-inspiring atmosphere. This is where humans can touch the infinity of the vast universe and where they can fully practice the deepest spiritual teachings. If you enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support is a huge motivation for us. Click on the video that's playing on the screen. I believe you'll enjoy it too. Don't forget to leave a comment about the country you'd like us to explore in our next videos. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Keep following us, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on our exciting journeys ahead.